My name is Sneha Manurkar, and today the topic which I need to give a stress upon is importance of revision. Okay, being from a CF fraternity, I believe that most of the students lack the importance of revision. So you must be asking me what is the importance of revision for any student who are appearing for any competitive or professional examination. Before understanding what is the importance, we shall understand or take into consideration what is the meaning of revision. Revision means, as per the dictionary worded, it is said that it is reread of what the work we have previously done. So for reread, it implies that first we need to study once, right? In order to reread, we need to study previously, at least for the first time. So what is the importance of revision? Many students come and ask me, ma'am, we are studying, but we are unable to grasp everything at the same point of time, and later after say 10 to 12 days we are not able to recollect what we have studied. The problem, the basic problem for every people, for every student, especially I would correlate with CA student, what happens is that they feel that the amount of study which a CA final student has to study is of Mount Everest. Okay, this is the Mount Everest and here is your base camp where you are ready. You need to reach at this top at particular where you feel that 100% of portion I have to complete before my May or November attempt comes. But what they lack is the understanding that in order to reach this 100%, whatever they have studied previously, they do not go through once. Okay, they make sure that they will see that particular chapter or subject where they are somewhere here, for example in April or for example in October, and there they start their revision process. But I do not follow this policy. What I suggest to my friends and to my students is that as soon as if I am selecting one subject, for example IBT, if I am selecting this subject and I have started, I am very new to this subject, it's my first attempt, okay, so I am starting with this IBT, I study one chapter, for example exercise basics, okay. As soon as I complete this chapter, I immediately move on to valuation, export and import, general procedure, segment, etc, etc, okay, I follow. But what I do, the major blunder which I make in my chart is that there is no day or there is no period allocated for my revision. That is the major blunder every student itself in the beginning makes a problematic situation which they face subsequently in their examination hall. As soon as the person who is sitting in the examination hall and when they receive their question paper, and in that 15 minutes when they get time to see the question paper for the very first time, what happens is that a personal experience I would rather to share with you is that I get the paper in my hand and in 15 minutes I am so excited, I am on the top of the world because I have already covered 100% of my portion. So I am very confident that this question, yes it comes, yes this comes, yes I know this answer. But when the clock strikes at 2 o'clock and I jot down my answers, I start writing the answers, I am blank. I am completely blank. The reason is that I have not revised enough. That revision depends upon person to person. Okay, being an average student, a person requires minimum 3 revisions as far as CA final exam is considered. Okay, so this is a personal experience. I would like to share with you people that if you do not, I do not want my students to face this examination hall time. Instead of that 6 months previously itself, I make them enough capable to at least do revision twice. And I am saying twice means a thorough revision of all of your 8 subjects. The chart itself should be consisting of revision. The importance is nothing. It's a simple formula actually, If you work You work day and night, day and night, day and night, day and night. But if you don't revisit what you have already learned before in order to carry out that work, your base itself is weak. Okay. So I always say is that prepare a chart. If you ask me, ma'am, suppose if I am studying IDT and how exactly the revision procedure takes place. After seeing a lot of videos and personal experience and discussing with my colleagues and my students, the importance of writing notes has come out. Okay, if you ask me, ma'am, how exactly there's notes to be prepared and how exactly the importance of revision needs to be fulfilled. If I speak about one particular subject, for example, let's say IDT, and today you are 6 months behind your scheduled exam, and if you start studying your IDT, you are very new to this subject, and you start studying with the very first chapter, basics of excise. As soon as you complete this chapter, make sure that you write your own handwritten notes. The benefits of notes, I have already told you. I don't want you to get blank in your examination hall, and to avoid that, start preparing notes. This notes will be called as your revision notes. It will be a booklet which you prepare for each subject. It can go up to 1 book or 2 books depending upon your handwriting. Okay. So after as soon as you complete one chapter, second chapter, just go on filling this as your own sweet words, whatever you are comfortable, but yes, it should be a legal word, so that in exam your stress is on the legal words and not in the manner of layman language. Okay, so now you will say, ma'am, sounds very interesting, exciting also, enthusiastic to start with this, good idea, but do you think it's practical? I will say yes, it is practical if you follow this behind, if you are 6 months before or 5 months before. But the other problem starts that I have written with this exercise. As soon as I land the exemptions demand, there is a chapter separated, which is the end of this exercise. I am exhausted. My saturation level is high. I have stopped writing this revision notes because no mood to write. I am saturated. So what to be done? In order to avoid this, student come up and say that, ma'am, can we collaborate with our friends? If she'll make some notes, then I will concentrate on the other part of that exercise. Good idea. But the problem, what happens is that every person is unique. Every student studies in his own way. They conceive a particular chapter or subject in their own understanding. So it is quite possible that her understanding and your understanding of a particular same subject may differ. So the written notes will have an impact on it. If you think that the front person having same compatibility as your about this particular subject, then go ahead. If not, then I would recommend that you start preparing your own notes. Even if you feel that there is a saturation point coming around, just go through all the hard work which you have put on, all your colorful notes with all the colorful pens. So you will obviously feel that, okay, fine, I have already given so much of time on this, making this revision notes, why don't I carry it forward? Okay, in that spirit only you can complete all these notes. Now, ma'am, what this revision book should include? Practically everything is sounding very nicely, but what about the quantum? What exactly needs to be covered? If I talk in the sense of IDT, if you study, then there shall be your case laws. Okay. Now you don't have to incorporate this in this revision book. Obviously, the institute has given you a separate booklet. Just highlight the importance case law as per your attempt. And the second one is your practice manual. Whatever the important question, practical knowledge which you gave from PM, and if you feel that this is important, understanding the concept, mark as a highlighter and study that only. And the main book, it could be your study material or any author textbook, whichever. This you need to sum up in your revision book. Okay, now how you do, it is completely depending upon you. If you want to make it crux, this is your main book. Okay, and the most important thing as far as this subject and DT subject is concerned is amendments. Amendments carries an important marks. It is a sure shot around 15 to 20 marks. So you make sure that end moment where you don't want to get yourself in a hassle position, to avoid that, incorporate these amendments in here. So what you need to incorporate is only two things. Job is quite easy, right? Because you have just highlighted it, your work is done. Otherwise, if you start writing all the case laws name and their crux and their decision, it will take a lot of your time. And since your other 7 subjects you don't want to compromise on, you can cut it short. So this is how I want my students to incorporate all these important parts, so that at the end of the day, I mean that when you have 1.5 days, when you have this 1.5 days, you don't want to travel here separately. Okay, I want you to club this one portion and club this one portion. For here, the main important, which is a crux or which is the foundation, you have your revision book. Because at the end of the day, this 1.5 day, it is not impossible, but it is difficult for you to go through completely, like each and every word. And this is how you try to lose your 1.5 day. At the end of one day, you feel that I have just completed the portion of service tax. My excise, my custom, my FTP, everything is pending, and you have only half day in your hand. So this should not happen with the students. That's why I prefer to say them to do a revision notes. Okay. So this is how you give a example. This is just an example, illustrative example I have given. You can make your own importance. If you feel that if I miss something, you can add on that. But yes, try to make the notes very crisp. Okay, you don't want to write a detailed notes, because if you are going to study for the very first time, obviously you will be studying the detailed notes. But what I meant for the revision notes is that it should be only the concepts. Concepts should be clear. So I just want that notes should be a concept, needs to be clear. Your revision notes, which I have already said, should be covering only concepts. But yes, make sure that the concepts are in legal language, okay, the legal way. Because what happens, if you write in a layman language, you tend to write the same language in your paper and you lose the marks, okay. So your language should be taken care very much. After understanding what exactly the revision works and revision notes, accordingly, you start preparing charts, okay. And as I said, weekly, 1 day, just allocate 3 hours. 3 hours is again your depending upon person to person. So taking into consideration, if you follow this, I feel that every CA student can obviously accomplish this entire 8 subjects in a span of 6 months, okay. But yes, importance of revision, as I keep on saying from last 15 minutes, it is very important, because I don't want that a person who is well prepared and who knows everything, but as clock is 2 p.m. and you don't write anything, that feeling itself is sad. You cannot handle that feeling, because it starts making you prepare for your next attempt, and you there itself you lack the confidence and your motivation is down. So in order to, I have taken this entire section for revision is only to avoid this feeling. From my personal experience, I gathered all the knowledge, I did everything what I could and make you realize the importance of revision, because I don't want any student to face this feeling at the exam point of time, because you have already covered your 100% of portion and you're not putting up the paper and not fetching the marks is not what we are here, okay. So summing up this entire thing, I would like to tell you one small story, just 2 minutes and the story is over. One day, while I was studying for my paper, as I was bored, I thought to help out my mom in the kitchen. So she was preparing bhakri. In Marathi you call it bhakri, a flat rice bhakri, roti, okay. It is not roti, it is bhakri, and it is very difficult to prepare it. So she was struggling to prepare 5-6 bhakris. So I said, I'll help you. Okay, so she said that you cannot do it. And as soon as she said, my ego was hurt. Obviously it was hurt. So I said, okay fine, I will do it. I will try to do it. So I landed somewhere like this. Roti only doesn't come properly. Bhakri is out of the question, okay, as of now. And there were a lot of cracks in it. bhakri gets cracked. I tried, I failed terribly. Okay, again I did with a lot of concentration. Somewhere it managed, but again it was not fluffy, and somewhere it was again cracked up. Then on the fourth and the fifth time, it was finally succeeded. Since my ego was hurt here, here, and here, I did a lot of efforts, and finally my roti, the bhakri, was round. So what I want to say is that once I have done here, once I have tried, and again I was doing it again and again, I reached at this position. I am not expecting you to be a CA student and doing revision for 3 to 4 to 5 days. I expect that you land over here, minimum, because covering 8 subjects in span of 6 months with 3 revisions itself is an achievable task. If I say 4, then I would be fooling you. Okay, so if I want my students to come over here, make your syllabus and make your chart in such a manner that you at least complete 3 revisions including your revision notes, your extra supplementary which you will be studying, and your main book which you will be covering over here. So this is how I end up the lecture, the session of the importance of revision. I hope this video was fruitful for you and it is practical, and if you follow it nicely and if you start following before your attempt, so cracking CA paper is quite an achievable task. Okay, it's not an impossible task. Thanks for watching this video. If you need any help or you need further any bifurcation for helping you out in preparing charts and further guidance about the revision, please do call me on this number. I shall revert you as soon as possible. Thank you.